Hello and welcome back to the Key Arsenal podcast. It is episode 74 today. I'm your host, Matthew Key, and this week I'm joined by two lovely co-hosts. We've got Carl and Dad. How are you both doing?
All good.
We're good, thank you.
Yep, we're hoping to be joined by Madeline at some point this evening. She's had her own footballing commitments at university, but she may well pop her head in. But yeah, I'm going to start this week with a bit of a story, actually. So obviously we talked last week about the fact that despite playing on a Sunday at 2:00, our game wasn't on the telly. So in the UK, it may have been available to you if you were in a different country, perhaps. But yeah, 4 games at 2:00. Only one of which was televised, and that was not Arsenal. So the normal sort of routine in this day and age is you go on about half an hour before kick-off. You look see if you can get suddenly transported to a different country to allow you to watch the game, which I did. I did it on my little laptop, and obviously the first thing that happens is all the players go off because of a power cut or whatever it was at Leeds. For the next 40 minutes when the game was not on, I have to say my stream was working perfectly. I've never had such a well-worked stream. And of course then the second the game starts, the stream starts playing up. You try and so many different sites and stuff like that. None of them were working, and I have to say we probably watched about 50% of the first half in the end. The second half was even worse. And when I was deciding what to call this episode, I looked through the previous ones and I thought, I've never had an episode called That Was Stressful before. But I have to say, there's been a few examples of supporting this club where it's very stressful, but not being able to watch most of that second half and hearing what was going on, and the fact that anytime I could get some pictures, it seemed that Leeds were all over us and looking like they were bound to score. It was horrible, and eventually I gave up with the stream, listened to the last 5 minutes on the ever reliable Arsenal.com radio, which if anyone's ever listened to it will know is absolutely useless. You have no idea what was going on, and Gabriel gets sent off and you've got no clue what's happening.
That's all right, because the referee of the linesman didn't have either. So there's you was in the same boat as them.
But it was an absolutely horrible way to follow the game, I suppose, is the best way of putting it, wasn't it, Dad?
Yes, stressful was a good description. In between, as his stream was logging up, Carl, I would flick the radio on, listen to a well-known sports radio station, hoping that Perry Groves would say something that would cheer me up. And Perry was sounding very stressed.
I was watching it, and it wasn't any less stressful. I can promise you that. It was awful to watch. It was a nightmare. If I could find a cushion, I would have got one. Even the missus was like, "Oh no," and she was like, "Oh." It was terrible. Just absolutely knackered me watching that game. For completely the opposite of when I watched the Spurs game, which was a joy, but I felt knackered afterwards because you'd sung your heart out and everything else. This one was just exhausting just to watch. Just we was waiting for something to happen. And to be fair, again, our defence was pretty good. And the guy who he's taken a bit of flack this week. I thought he was exceptional. So out of the 4 of them, he was the best defender, Gabriel. So yeah, but it was stressful, proper stressful.
Yeah, I have to say I'm normally someone that obviously I go to most of the home games, but when I'm when it's an away game or whatever and it's on the telly, I just get rid of my phone for the 90 minutes because I don't want any distractions or anything like that. And I have a little check at half time, see what people are saying. But other than that, it's not on at all until the game's over. But oh my God, it was so horrible and I couldn't tell what was happening. And as Daz says, the radio, you never ever sound like it's in the right place. So, and you hear a description and you watch the highlights later and you think, it doesn't sound anything like what they were describing on the radio. So I've just on my Twitter refreshing to see full time, and I've seen Gabriel sent off, Gabriel not sent off, and I had not a clue what was going on. And I have to say, I'm never going to complain about 3 points, but having watched most of the game back and the key bits, and I said it at the time, Dad, I've never been sort of so frustrated with a win because of how poorly we played, especially in comparison to what we've seen for the majority of the season.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, how do I describe it? A, you were stressed. B, I was stressed. Your mum was stressed. We weren't great. As I say, there were moments where I grasped for the comforting tones of Mr. Perry Groves, and even he wasn't comforting me. And if there's ever a bloke who's a gooner through and through and you think he's going to say some nice things, it's Perry Groves, and even he was getting stressed. So it wasn't great. In fairness, I am going to say, certainly the second half, the bits I saw and the bits I saw later on, Leeds really came at us and they outran us. And they're probably the first side I've seen this year run harder than us. I'd go back to Thursday night and I thought, we look like we're saving a bit for the weekend. I don't think we did. Whether it was the travel, anything else, I have no idea, Carl, but
I thought Leeds actually tactically were very clever. In the first half, we was drawn on. Yeah, they were allowing us to come over the halfway line.
Yeah,
pretty much to the edge of the centre circle, if you like, and then no more. No, we're going to block you out there. They played a block. That's where they blocked, and they chased you down in them areas. But it was quite a small area.
Yeah,
which is different because normally they chase you around all over the pitch.
Yeah,
and they've done that in the first half, and they've been known this year for tiring as the games go on. And in the second half, they've done that. They've done their full chase, everything. They put everything into that second half, and they were very good. They kind of, I suppose, it caught us a little bit unawares because tactically it was a change. They brought Bamford on. And his style is slightly different to Rodrigo's. And they chased us down in every part of the pitch. We didn't get a second. We found it difficult to move the ball through the areas, should we say, but there was no areas to move through. It seems like there was always a Leeds player there. And that probably is a little bit down to a little bit jaded. Not so much, I don't think, from the Thursday, because I thought we would naff on Thursday as well. But I think we've had 2 mega games against Spurs and Liverpool. And there has to be a little bit of a low after them 2, because they were magnificent. So I give them that. We've just won a game. Spurs have been winning like that all season. Yeah, So let's take it and move on. And hopefully, we've got games on Thursday and Sunday, but the teams we're playing have got games on Wednesday and Sunday. The team we're playing, Southampton. So we've got the same balance as them. We've then got 2 home games after that, isn't it? Oh no, we've got an away game against PSV, sorry, followed by a home game against Forest.
Yep. So
that might be a bit tougher, but we know what to expect now, and if we can do something tomorrow night, then we can send out the Papa John's trophy over to Amsterdam, although a few of them might have to take their parents because it'd be trouble with the passports, would they, on that one? But yeah, let's just keep on. I want to be positive about it. We got a win. VAR actually done what it should do with the second decision. It should have cancelled the penalty as well for a blatant offside. That is just a nonsense. How could he miss it? Because it's very clear when they show the picture. He's absolutely perfectly positioned, that linesman, and he's missed it. How has he missed that? And how has VAR said, oh, it's a different phase of play? He plays it back, it's crossed over, it's a goal, or it's a penalty. But it was funny, Saliba's reaction. I mean, talk about that. Knowing you're guilty straight away. You could see it on his face, couldn't you? You knew it was going to be given, but it's very nice when it went wide. But then I don't understand. I'd love to know what the conversation was between the referee and the linesman for the sending off, because it looks like the linesman's telling him what went on, which must have been, I've missed everything but a kick out, and he's kicked him in the chest, and it turned out, yeah, you missed everything because it was a foul. How could you miss that? That's impossible. And the kick in the chest that you saw didn't happen. It only happened in your dreams. And that's a dreadful decision. Unless Kavanaugh turned around and said, that's what I think happened. He said, well, I've got no reason to disagree with you. Kavanaugh's got a history of sending off our players. He seemed to quite enjoy it. So, I don't know. Pass. Just thank God it weren't Harry Kane, because it wouldn't have been overturned.
And he'd have probably scored a penalty, to be fair, because he is quite good at them, because he has enough practice. Yeah, I think that, to be fair to Leeds, and this is a genuine comment, they're the best team we've faced this season. Not in terms of their starting 11, obviously, but in terms of as tough a test as we've had, that was it against Leeds. Liverpool were very good in the first half, as we discussed last week. Tottenham weren't good at all. Palace were good for probably 20, 30 minutes, first game of the season. Other than that, we found most games quite comfortable. But
even the game we lost, they
played well on the counter, but I always felt sort of, I suppose, in control is the wrong word, but I've always felt like we had a confident of getting a result out of it. Whereas that, I just thought it was inevitable they were going to score. They were so on top of us. They were excellent. So fair play to them, and I don't think they're going to have any problems, because
they should be top half of the table, really, looking at that performance. I mean, that's a minimum. Seriously, they can't just turn up for our game and play like that.
No, well, they beat Chelsea. That was the first game they've lost at home all season. They beat Chelsea very comfortably.
Yeah.
I can't remember who else they've beaten, who else they've played, but yeah, their home form, they did lose to Palace the following week, but again, very good in the first half, tailed off in the second, which didn't happen on Sunday. But their home form, I think, should be enough to keep them up at the very least.
I expect them to come top half just on that performance. They just got to play it like that every week.
They're certainly better and better set up than some other teams down there. I mean, I'm looking at the likes of Villa, Leicester, certainly. Obviously, those two teams, manager changes potentially, but yeah, no, fair play to them. They gave us a very good game. But let's look at some positives then. Firstly, context is very important in this one. We'd gone up past the Arctic Circle on Thursday, played a sort of mixture of some reserves and some first teamers up in Norway. Always was going to be tricky on the 4G pitch, but managed to get the win there. Although again, very very tough game. They put up a very good test, and again, a team that doesn't lose at home very often at all. So that was a good win. But then to come back 3 days later. So they would have gone home, then right back up to Leeds is difficult, and so ultimately the performance wasn't that great, but to come away with the 3 points was all that really mattered. And top of the league, 4 points clear. You can't really complain too much. Dad, let's talk about the sort of one moment of quality that we showed, and other than one of the best switches of play I've ever seen from Rodrigo to set up Saka, it was a very nicely worked goal. Obviously your man was involved in it before a terrific finish.
Well, Rodrigo, who I'd put in my fantasy team, I think he should have almost got an assist for that, by the way. But what a ping to Saka. The little 1-2. Your main man, Odegaard, who, let's be honest, I thought was quite disappointing. But the one moment of quality, the little pass again, Carl, so that somebody hasn't got to break their stride. So good. And I genuinely did not know Saka had that good a finish in him.
Not with his right foot.
No. Yeah, you might have gone left foot. Yes. Right foot. No. What a finish. It's amazing, isn't it? You watch him for a few weeks struggling, hitting it far wide, over, everywhere. Score a couple of goals. And then you've got a finish like that with your wrong foot. So quite...
He had a fairly similar chance, like on the Thursday, fairly similar, but even closer, if anything. And he got a pitching wedge out and stuck it so high over and wide. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Shanked it. So, yeah, great goal.
And, you know, in fairness, you look at things like that, if you don't know anything, you think, oh, how's the keeper get beaten like that? The keeper got beaten, a combination of placement. So he's obviously gone to stop anything at his near post, Carl, hasn't he? But he's been beaten by the ball higher up and I'd say the power more than anything. First of all, I thought the keeper's looking for a cross. But when you watch it a few times, he wasn't. He's just beaten by a really good finish, plenty of power, and very good placement. So, as I say, he's obviously feeling a little bit more confident than he was. And you're right, Carl, he did have one Thursday night that he probably did stick well into the Arctic Circle. It's probably in Santa's Grotto now, but it's, yeah, no, it's good finish. It was the one really, really good bit of football we played all afternoon, in my opinion, because the rest of it we weren't. We played some decent football, but that was really up there.
Yeah, I mean, lovely pass, as we've said, and you look at the goalkeeper's position there, it's absolutely spot on. He's in a position where he's not going to get beaten at his near post, and it's the sort of element of surprise, I think, that's caught him out as much as anything. But then he can't react to it because it's too well placed. It hits the roof of the net first. Just absolutely brilliant. And if that's something that Saka's getting better at, and if he wants to try it out in a Europa League game, group stage game, that's absolutely fine. And I'm more than happy for him to do that if it means that when it comes to the weekend, and that is the one decent chance we had in the entire game, it's won us 3 points that we weren't going to get, I don't think, other than if we didn't score that. So it just shows the quality, and without sort of a player that I think is a very decent player. But if you look at someone like Patrick Bamford, who missed 2 or 3 really good chances for them, it just shows the difference in quality. And we've been in that position that Leeds have been in not too long ago ourselves, saying, well, if we just had someone from that team or someone from that team, that wouldn't have happened, or we'd have scored that. And now we are becoming that team.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that had a really, really noticeable game was Ramsdale, who had a good game. I expect his plums are still a bit sore from that one.
Who doesn't laugh at that?
Quote! What a quote, by the way. And sorry, this is just a complaint. The match of the day highlights quite rightly show that Leeds were the dominant team in that game, because they were. What they didn't show was 3 fantastic saves from Ramsdale. They're just completely cut out of the highlights.
Yeah,
and sort of only
plums.
only brushed over in the analysis part. It's ridiculous. He had such a brilliant game.
He did have a good game.
He's had some really good ones, but considering the context and how poor we were, that really jumps out, and you can really look at that and say he's won us or helped win us that game. Him and, as you mentioned, Carl, Gabriel.
Yeah, because our 2 fullbacks didn't have their best games. I mean, as a defensive unit, we still only conceded 0. Yeah, but Tomiyasu got caught a few times. One noticeably where he panicked a little bit in the first half, at the end of the first half, and Ben White, he gave it away a lot, and that's the most unlike him. It's like they caught us unawares, and they can't do, because you know how Leeds are going to play. But we wasn't at our best, but we won. I mean, our midfield was rubbish. Xhaka weren't so bad, I suppose, but generally rubbish. Martinelli was ineffective. Jesus tried but never really got anywhere. Gabriel was the shining light. I thought it was nice to see, and I couldn't understand why people would get on his back. Thanks. Can you turn the light on, please? Anyway, right, I'll finish. I'll just mute myself, sorry.
God, I don't know if you technical issues at home, that's okay. Dad, we talked a lot about Gabriel last week, and I don't know, on a different, well, without VAR on the game, we could have been coming on talking about how he's a liability and maybe someone that we need to look at improving. But firstly, justice sort of prevailed in the end, and we got to the correct decision. But he was another one that he was putting his body everywhere. I know one of your favourite phrases, "body on the line." That really summed him up on Sunday. And apart from the little kick out, stayed very calm, which is unusual for him.
Yeah, he was doing all right. I mean, I think Bamford was trying to rattle him and get him a bit riled up. I think he was probably aggrieved at the earlier incident when he was pushed as well.
Yeah.
I think that was just my view, Cole. I thought he was a bit aggrieved by that. And then at the end, when he gets another one, he's lost the plot a bit. Could be wrong. Bamford would annoy me because he looks like he needs a good haircut.
I think he's jealous of his hair.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, he was good, Gabriel. He was good. He made a silly mistake trying in kicking out, but I don't know if he actually stopped himself from kicking out or if he just didn't catch him. I think he probably stopped himself because he didn't really force it through, did he? But Bamford rolling about on the floor was a bit embarrassing. That was a bit. Your name's Ruud van Nistelrooy. Yeah,
exactly what I was going to compare it to, Carl. It was literally just like watching Vieira not on Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had the equivalent of Stephen Bennett, who was a crap refereeing us on Sunday, and he did send him off. But thankfully, we had a crap referee doing VAR as well, who actually, for once, found in our favour.
Yeah, Mr. Tierney.
Is a novelty.
Yes. A rarity, I think, is the term, Carl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you, Carl. I think we weren't great all the way through the side. Back to front, front to back, whichever way you say it. I'll give us our due. We dug in well. And you're right. Tommy the week before was absolutely fantastic. This week he looked a bit lost.
Yeah, he just didn't have a good game. You
No.
know, we played a lot of players on the Thursday. I don't think he was one of them, actually. I can't remember. Did we play him on Thursday? Can't remember.
No,
Can't remember now. But yeah, he just looks a little bit jaded as a number of them. But as a unit, he's got a naught next to it, and that's you know, all credit for keeping going. Apart from the error for the handball, Saliba was decent. He's not up to the levels of obviously the last two games where he's been unbelievable against Liverpool and Spurs, but he's still decent. And it's nice we've had two. We played Bodo Glimt and Leeds. In both games we weren't great, but we've won both. Yeah, so happy days. Happy days. We won the old way that Arsenal used to win, and it's nice.
The old way at Dirty Leeds.
At Dirty Leeds, and I don't know if you've seen that crowd video from the Leeds end, but it shows the Arsenal. It's just great. 2 minutes of.
What about the one of Ramsdale as well, Carl?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Yeah, I'll just give them a little bit of a nudge, and they just go, don't they? Sort of that. He must be a good fisherman. I could only imagine because he owns a load of them there. To be fair, we gave him something, and he applauded them, didn't he? So they still didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean,
hostile crowd.
I was about to say, Carl, if you look at a couple of them games last year, and I know there weren't floodlights at that's as I'm going to say as hostile an atmosphere as you're going to get virtually anywhere
in this country. I think
in this country,
I'm trying to think of one that's harder in terms of the crowd.
I'd say I watched their game yesterday, and Palace, the crowd there was absolutely superb, and that's obviously another one we've got out the way and got 3 points in. So considering we are talking about a team that was so bad away from home 3-4 years ago, it's an incredible transformation, and yeah, credit has to go to the way the mentality's changed away from home. Whether that's a bit of, I think it's a mixture of a bit of belief in themselves and also a bit more grit and determination. Because obviously last year didn't quite finish the way we wanted it to. But you look there was some really good away wins there. Wolves sticks out with 10 men. Aston Villa again. There was another 1-0 where. Scored a goal, had to dig in. That was the one Leno came in for and did really well. I'm trying to think of any others, but yeah, Leeds and Palace definitely two of the harder ones outside of the other teams in the big six. So good to get them out of the way, and obviously look ahead. You've got Newcastle is always a difficult place to go. Wolves as well, but yeah, no, encouraging signs away from home. In fact, we are actually top of the away table, which is nice.
We're not top of the home table.
Yeah, we are, but we us Spurs and City, we've all got 100% record at home,
right.
Whereas we're actually sort of clear on the away table.
Right.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah, it's nice.
But yeah, 27 points out of 30. Dad, I think it's a good time to ask you now, as is we're 10 games in. What's the old charts looking like for the comparison?
Oh,
Have you got it handy?
no, I haven't got it handy, but when I looked the other day, I think we had 17 points after 10 games last year. And
Silly, isn't it?
I think the bit I notice is, funny enough, the goal difference is obviously better, but it's the goals scored, I think. And if you look at the last couple of years, we were struggling. 10 games, we've probably scored 13 goals, whereas this season we're in the 20s. So, whilst I think, obviously Sunday we didn't concede, but I think we've conceded a couple of silly goals. Overall you look at it and go, but at least this season generally we're scoring goals.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference. If you score one, the other team's got to score two to beat you. So,
still waiting for that game where we give someone a spanking. But maybe I'm being too optimistic. But it just feels like it's there, and then we don't do it for whatever reason.
I know exactly
miss a few chances. But
I do know what you mean. There's a couple of times I've thought, Brentford being I think the one, you looked at it and you thought we could have scored 6, 7.
Yeah, sometimes we take the foot off the gas a little bit as well.
Well, Tottenham was the one as well, because A, we should have never let that game be 1-1 in the first place, but B, obviously when they went down to 10 men, they sort of, they shut up shop, and we made the changes just to sort of rest players for the next game. So that just shows. I think we've got the fear factor back as well. Teams aren't trying to take the game to us anymore. Teams are sort of scared's not maybe the right word, but teams are wary of us. As I welcome footballer into the room. I can't see them yet, but almost there.
I can see Madeline.
I can see you.
Okay, well, I can hear Madeline. That's. I can see Madeline as well. How are you, Madeline?
I'm good, thank you.
Good result for you.
Yeah, pretty good. Probably could have won, but our keeper left at half time. So to keep a clean sheet in the second half, I think was quite impressive.
Your keeper left at half time?
Yeah, she had a bit of a meltdown, not because she'd conceded, just because she does medicine. So we had to get someone else to go in goal. So, yeah.
Joys of uni football. Right, Madeline, I'll tell you what we've been doing is at the start of the episode, I've made everyone describe their lovely experience of watching the game on Sunday. Cole, I think, was slightly less stressful than me and Dad because he was in a completely different country, obviously, so he had no problems with his pictures. But what was the experience like for you?
To be fair, mine was all right. The only time my completely legal stream stopped was as we gave the penalty away. So I didn't know we'd given it away until the Twitter notification came through. And I said, have we conceded? And someone said, not yet. And then my stream started working as Patrick Bamford missed the penalty. However, it was horrific. The entire second half was horrendous. And I never want to go through that ever again.
Sounds exactly like what we said from it. We don't want to. As I say, it's a brilliant start of the season, but we certainly don't want many more performances like them. And I'm hoping
to another. It was.
I'm hoping it was just a sort of fatigue thing from playing Thursday and then having another long trip Sunday, and of course the fact that Leeds played very well.
Especially at home.
I mean, I'm not saying.
Their first loss of the season at home as well. I don't know if you've already mentioned it.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they won't give us a game or they won't get any points from us, but Southampton on Sunday, you certainly wouldn't expect them to play at the intensity Leeds did and give us as hard a time as we had.
And they're playing tonight, aren't they, Southampton?
Oh, they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, they've got I think they've got West.
Bournemouth,
Oh, Bournemouth.
No, they played West Ham the other day.
the South Seaside Derby, or whatever they can make
Well,
it out to be
basically.
now.
Well, let's go on to Southampton then. I'll be honest. I don't think I've seen a single Southampton game live as of yet this season. Madeline, I suppose again you're sort of the resident expert here. Have you caught any Saints games this season?
I don't think I have. I'll be
You don't?
honest. You know they're probably not fantastic when every pub in Southampton tries their best not to put their games on the TV. It's been. I mean, I can occasionally hear the crowd from my window, and it's strong occasionally because it's only when they score. But I've not caught much of them. I've not caught much of the atmosphere as to whether Southampton fans are happy or not. I basically am useless, so you're welcome.
He's been under
You
pressure.
can leave now, Madeline.
He's been under pressure for his job, hasn't he? The manager. They thought he was going to go a few times. He's got pulled out a result a couple of times just to keep the wolf at bay as such. But he's got a very young team. They've turned out they're younger than us this year. Their average age. So that's a novelty. After last year, we was miles clear. So he must. I don't know who he's brought in to make that stat work, but he has obviously.
They've got a couple of teenagers that have been constantly starting for him. They've got the lad at the back named Kotchap or something. He's 19-year-old centre back. He looks a very handy player. I have watched them at some point. I can't remember when, but I remember looking at him thinking he was a player. And then there's a kid in midfield who I think is only 18 years old, and he looks like a really good player. But Dad, I know this is something you've said, is that it's a place that we're not very good at, and it's a bit of I wouldn't say a bogey team because we have a pretty good home record against them, but a bogey ground certainly.
As I said to you, Matthew, I've been there 4 times. I've never seen us win in one of the grounds or the other. So I look back to last season. We went. You even now you look at it and go, how did we not win? At worst, not get a point, but we didn't, and they are one of them teams. Don't know why. You used to saying, I mean, again, I'm looking at Mr. Lillis here, St. Mary's, when it was one of the bigger teams there, you know, the crowd were always up for it, weren't they, Carl?
Well, I always think of the Dell.
The Dell, sorry, not St. Mary's, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Because I mean, you know, you went a foot back. He was in row 1, weren't you?
Yeah.
From the pitch, it was that tight. But yeah, it was the crowd were on you because they literally were on you. Right. Yeah, there's a bit more. There was quite a noisy crowd. They can be though. Yeah. You know, so we can't. It ain't unlucky ground for us. But there's nothing wrong with it. The pitch is quality, or it always appears to be quality. The setup is nice there. We should be able to play there. It's just we haven't over recent years.
Well, I've got the results up because I hadn't looked at this before, but I was interested. So since they've been back in the Premier League, 2013 we drew 1-1 at their place. 2014 we drew 2-2. 2015 we lost 2-0.
Is that the Chesney smoking day?
I could have been.
That time.
That was New Year's Day 2015. Then we next played them Boxing Day 2015 and lost 4-0. So we yet to beat them. A 5-0 away win in the FA Cup, which I remember. Welbeck and Walcott scored some goals there.
Remember that.
And we did beat them 2-0 in the league that year. I don't remember that one. 2017, we drew 1-1. That was the snow game. I don't know if anyone remembers that. 2018, we lost 3-2. I remember Mkhitaryan scoring twice and still managing to lose to them. And that was the day Charlie Austin scored the winner against us, which was really depressing.
God.
2019, we drew 2-2. And then 2020 and 2021, we won both times, but they were both COVID related. And then last year, we lost 1-0. So it's not a great record at all at St Mary's for whatever reason, because it's not one of those grounds you associate with being hostile and difficult to go to. As you said, Carl, it's a lovely pitch, but for whatever reason, we have not got a good record there at all.
Yeah, they can chuck out some noise, the fans can, but yeah, it's not an I wouldn't say it's an intimidating place. It's not like going to Leeds or a few other grounds, dirty Leeds or Palace even, which is not. I mean, is a little bit more intimidating. It's just noisy actually. Palace is not so much intimidating there either. But yeah, Leeds is always the one that you always think of as being quite an intimidating place. Birmingham can be the same as well, going back a few years. But yeah, Southampton's not. We shouldn't be this bad there, but we've always been pretty pants there. I mean, there was a few years when we had all our superstars out, and obviously we did batter them a few times, but we did that to most teams at that time. So outside of that,
it's also probably important to remember, probably barring last year, our away record recently has not been very good in general.
Yeah.
And Southampton has been one of the ones that's maybe continued, but we were famously really, really bad away from home for about 3 years. So that's probably...
We just was talking about that just before you came in, that we're top of the away league. Clear, apparently.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's... I don't know, Matthew. It's just a bit weird. As I say, Carla remembered the Dell. If you were the away supporters used to be on the side, actually on one side, and Carl is completely correct, because it literally was, as somebody was taking a throw in, you could pull the shirt if you were in the front. So it was quite noisy there then, Carl.
Always vaguely remembering, I might be wrong here, Kev, but remember the one that stands was smaller. It sort of narrowed, it lowered as you got to the side. But there was always the old blue disabled cars parked up, which I always used to think at some grounds there were, but particularly at the Dell, I'm sure it was. I always remember seeing it and thinking, well, how'd they get that there? There you go. You know, another era, I suppose. Yeah. Special ground that was. They don't make them like that, do they, anymore? It's just, I mean, it held about 17,000, and you look at it, you think that can't hold 17,000. How do you get that in now? You look at it, you think it would get 8,000 in now if you was lucky, I think, under the health and safety these days. But there you go.
You say it held 17,000, Cole. Probably the attendance record something like 40,000.
Yeah, it probably is when they were standing and all that. Jeez. Yeah. Oh, cracking stuff. Yeah.
But hopefully we can change that recent not playing well. Obviously, I've forgotten we'd won in COVID, but
yeah, I remember I think that was a bit of a meme with that one, because it was one of the ones in the sun, and I think there was a few of them on the bench and they had to sit apart because of COVID, but all holding an umbrella to stop the sun off them. I think everyone was saying, "Oh, I'm surprised Ozil was even not got someone carrying it."
I seem to remember Mesut Ozil sat with his feet up on the chair in front of him and holding an umbrella.
But yeah, so shots no one else was holding it for him, but there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully it's another Brentford where we can sort of get it out of our system and go and put on an impressive performance and sort of vanquish some demons.
Would be nice.
And I'll tell you what we'll do is, because tomorrow's Europa game, obviously, apart from the fact it's at a ridiculous kickoff time, PSV are obviously a very good team, and it's a game that if we win, we qualify, and then I think we need one more point from 2 games to win the group, which is obviously very important. So what names are we expecting to see on tomorrow?
I have no idea. They're going to play a lot of the first teamers because the reserves or the Papa John's Trophy team was playing last night. So Matt Smith played last night. He played the full 90, so he's not going to play. But he might be on the bench, but he's not going to start, and he'll only come up with a couple of minutes if at all. There's a couple of youngsters who have been were left out, so they might be on the bench, but they'll only be bench fillers. So you're going to see Holding start. You're going to see Tierney start. You're going to see the keeper, whose name escapes me already, which is terrible. He'll start. Turner. I think you might see Cedric start.
He's not starting against Southampton because I've got PTSD from that performance last year. Oh my God, it was atrocious.
I think well, yeah, it's up to them. They may play Ben White or Tomiyasu right back. Who knows? Partey will get a break, I think, and I think he needs one. I thought he was awful the other day. It would be nice to give Xhaka a break as well, but I'm not sure. How do you work that one out? You got to think about. They'll have to think about that one. They got Vieira, but they'll play Vieira instead of Odegaard, wouldn't they? And Martinelli apparently
Eddie instead of Jesus.
Eddie instead of Jesus. Martinelli didn't train.
But again, sorry. By the way, I thought Eddie's little cameo on Sunday was absolutely awful. He seemed to. I don't want to go in on the bloke, but it seemed like he'd very much revolved back to the old Eddie instead of the Eddie that we saw at the end of last year.
But they're all pants, so you can't blame sub.
But yeah, no, that's true.
I'm assuming Reece will play again, Carl.
I guess so. I mean, I felt for him that he didn't have a great game against Bolton, but nor did anyone else particularly. Yeah. And he's playing in effect out of position.
Marquinhos will play.
Yeah, I'd give Marquinhos and Nelson a start, but what's the point of trying to second guess him? What's the point? Because he'll play Saka, he'll play Martinelli, and he'll play Jesus up front.
I think Martinelli would most likely get a rest because he's been ill apparently, so they expect him to be fine for the weekend. But
they said he hasn't trained, and nor did Zinchenko either. But
Zinchenko,
yeah.
Okay, so what on the weekend then? Because it's actually quite interesting because obviously we've had Tomiyasu in at left back the last couple of weeks, and obviously the first week that went fantastically. Sunday, not so much. Obviously, again, not the only one, but does that make a change possible there? And
yeah, I think Tierney probably deserves a little run actually, Carl.
I agree.
Looked.
I'm not saying he was spectacular Sunday, but I thought he actually really helped when he came on the pitch Sunday. I
definitely think Tierney.
The only thing is you got Thursday, Sunday. So if do you want to play 2 games in 3 days? Probably not. So
you could play him for 60 though midweek and then play him Sunday. Start him Sunday.
Maybe.
I know I've seen some of the names the young kids that have trained with the first team today. So
Edwards is with the first team at the moment. I saw
yeah, Sousa was with.
Kurjan.
Did Sousa get taken off after 45 yesterday and train with the first team today? I think.
I'm not sure. I didn't notice that he'd been taken off, if I'm being honest.
Oh, I know he trained with the first team today. He was pictured in training, but
Kurjan, is it Kurjan?
Yeah.
He's been with the first team. And Edwards, obviously, there's one other who's, again, I'm getting that in. I missed it. Can't remember. But yeah, it's a tough juggling act. We're probably realising, or I'm realising, how small our squad is again, which is to an extent okay at the moment. We've got. I mean, it's caused the problem is caused by the fact that we got the World Cup right in the middle of everything. Otherwise, I think we'd probably be able to get away with it a little bit easier. But I keep on thinking, you've already got half a dozen games. Yeah, half a dozen games to go. If we can get through them, let's just get through them, because there are lots of players in our league at the moment and not at our club. Touch wood, it stays like that. That are pulling up injured now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a case of pot luck at the moment. He is trying to protect them, but he's playing them a lot. But he's trying to protect them as well. He knows the players who are likely to get injured. It seems to me, and he's trying to give them a bit of rest during games. And
probably not going to be in Thursday's squad, but Maldini. Don't know if anyone watched the Inside Hale End.
Yeah, I saw that.
Maldini, the one I think we got him from Fulham.
Yeah.
He played with the first team, and so did Miles Lewis Skelly. They're both 16, so I don't know, but they both trained with the first team.
So Maldini played last night. He came on as a sub.
Yeah.
As did Skelly as well. Skelly
really rate him quite highly.
He was.
Yeah.
I watched a bit of the game. He was a bit special.
Yeah.
I'll say him and where he came on, and they were very good. Very good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going for the Papa Johns again. I think semi-final we reached last year. We're through the group.
I can't remember.
And I tell you what, not many academy sides make it through the group, because it's very hard playing against senior teams who are made up of players that are really physical and, well, obviously very good footballers as well. But it's really hard, and the academy just put such a sort of credit to the club, and it shows how good it is. It's brilliant.
I watched a bit. It's interesting, the commentary, which is Radio Northampton. Yeah.
Cobblers.
But no, honestly, and they were very good. Actually, I thought the commentary was very good, and they were mentioning about this is Arsenal's under-21 team, but there's only one under-21.
Yeah.
Or two under-21s. All the rest of them are sort of the under-18s, pretty much. I thought it was good they pointed that out, because they were pointing out that Northampton had very much a squad team out last night.
Yeah, but that's the thing for these EFL teams, is for them it's a rotation as well. But it's a rotation of players that are genuinely in with a chance of or trying to work their way into the first team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's properly putting in performances and going for it. So yes, it's really good.
The Northampton scorer was a 16-year-old, which is I thought was quite funny. With all our players out, he's the one who scored the goal, right? The first goal. But yeah, I quite enjoyed watching that as it goes, because
I think we took. I know it's Northampton, it's quite close, but we took 300 as well, which is incredible.
I would imagine they just live around the corner. I would have guessed there's a few who live around the corner who went to that. Surprised you didn't, actually, but there was a few. But I turned over to watch the Brighton game. Then it took about 10 minutes and I thought, I can't take that anymore. So I turned about and watched the Northampton game.
Well, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on a game tonight, and hopefully both teams in that game lose.
Yeah, I mean, and Matt Smith got quite a good review.
He's a really good player.
Just
You
never.
know, yeah. I'd like to see him make his debut before he gets moved on, because he's probably going to leave. He'll do a good job. I'm not sure at what level, because he's never been tested. He's too good for League One, it seems, or that's how it's appeared in his games. So, can he play at the Championship level? No one's taken a punt on him, have they? So he'll probably end up going to a League One team, hopefully one that's challenging a Derby or something like that, someone with a bit behind them, and it works out well for him, because it deserves to.
Yeah, definitely. Madeline, do you want to talk to us a bit about the women? A bit like the first team, actually. In fact, it was almost identical, the stress levels that game caused against Reading.
Dreadful.
To be fair, probably similar to what you said about the Leeds result, it might be one we look back on in May and go, that was potentially the one, like, you'd put that in the top 3 of most important results of the season, because one, obviously missing 2 first-choice centre-halves, that's not easy for anyone, especially when they are involved in your all-round play as much as Rafa and Leah are. But also, I probably wasn't the only one sat there prior to the game with flashbacks to Birmingham away last season, missing Rafa and Leah, and we lost 2-0 away at the bottom of the league. Reading weren't actually bottom by the time we played them. Leicester had taken their spot. But I think to get that result, I think, to be fair, all season, Blackstenius has been very, very good. Leah Balti was unbelievable. And Manu in goal, just like Ramsdale did for us. The games were so identical. Yeah, Manu in goal was exceptional. But definitely, obviously, the WSL has 12 teams in it. You play 22 games. You can't really afford to lose many games. And especially when we haven't played City, United or Chelsea yet this season, the victories we can keep picking up before we get round to them are going to be very, very vitally important. So though not the best performance, definitely an important one, and maybe a bit of grit and determination that's going to be needed tonight away at Lyon, which is the least enviable fixture maybe ever.
Have you seen the team?
I've seen the team. I'm a bit surprised that obviously there's coming. Where's the team gone?
Well, there's no Medina on the bench.
Viv's obviously on the bench. She went off. Well, she didn't go off. Don't know if there's something wrong with her wrist. But I guess it means Kim Little can move forward a little bit more, knowing that she's sort of got the security of 2 very, very good.
If she gets a penalty, let's hope it's better than the one she took the other day.
God. Yeah. It might be damage limitation. Lyon are the best team by far and away of anyone in the world. And away and at home, they're even better. They've got a group of fans that treat the women's games like they do the men's games. They bring the flares, they bring the flag.
Oh, that's unacceptable behaviour in women's football, Madeline. There's no place for that sort of thing.
Exactly how it should be. But yeah, they're very good. Wendy Renard's very tall. And I did actually see a tweet and someone said, I'm stood in a lift with her and I can see why she's so good.
That was Tim Stillman, wasn't it? Yeah, great.
So yeah, hopefully we can, even if we can't get a result tonight, we can put in a decent performance. This is the game. We're going to learn more from this game than probably any game this season. If you want to know how to play football, watch Lyon. But if we can come away with something, excellent. If we don't, there'll be plenty of positives to take out from what you get from it. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's a tough group, isn't it? But one we hope to get out of, obviously.
I mean, the other thing is, when I talk about damage limitation, there's very feasible chance that this group could literally come down to goal difference. So I think actually Juventus knocked Chelsea out of the group stages last year on goal difference. So they're no mugs. So if you can not get battered today, not only is it good for morale, but it's, keeps you in reasonable contention.
Yep, and just a shout out for Beth Mead as well, just to finish us off. What an achievement that was. Yeah, and she was robbed, but what an achievement it was.
1 point, or whatever you want to call it.
And congratulations, Bukayo Saka, for getting in there and losing to some bloke I have never heard of. I'm
honestly,
really sorry.
I'm sorry. Who's the kid that finished one place above him?
I've no idea.
I'd never heard of him in my life. I genuinely had to Google him. I didn't have a clue he played for, what country he's from.
There's this. It's a loving for Real Madrid and Barcelona players, isn't it? It just bores me to tears. I mean, I'm sorry, but I know we'd all like a Premiership player to be up there and all that, but Jude Bellingham. Jesus.
I mean,
Bellingham.
It was Bellingham and Musiala for me.
Bellingham, Saka, and Musiala should have. There you go. But yeah, Beth Mead, Madeline.
Yeah. What a player, what a woman. Nice of Getty to call her Viv's guest.
That was incredible as well. What a
Jesus Christ, the women's come second.
9 places higher than Viv.
Yeah, no, massive achievement for Beth, massive achievement for English women's football as a whole. She is basically the face of it at this point. She's everywhere. You can't get away from her. Very humble with it too, but there's a lot of people that maybe only watched the Euros and didn't watch her throughout the season. We watched her throughout the season and she was outstanding for us. Probably an extra leg in the Champions League or winning the WSL, and it probably would have been hers. But the numbers she put in for club and country were outrageous, and not only that, did it with a work rate of someone that is fighting for a starting place in every team. And yeah, I would say is definitely a credit to the club, epitomises everything that Arsenal is about, always got time for fans, etc., as all of them do. So big up herself, and hopefully when she wins England the World Cup, she might win the Ballon d'Or.
There was a nice picture I saw it on Twitter, but it's probably from something else, and it was Vivian Medina posting saying, "Here I am with my guests," and they're in it looked like a private jet, and there was Saka and Heat. So it's quite a nice little fun, and I didn't quite get it until you've just explained it just a couple of minutes ago what it's about. But
but it's very good. And this is completely Arsenal unrelated, Madeline. I thought the worst part about the women's ceremony was I was looking at the names, and Alex Morgan comes 12th or something in 2022.
They're sort of scared of getting rid of any American from it. And not a single. So Lyon won the Champions League, and not a single one of them made it in the top 5. Right. Well, that makes sense. So yeah. I mean, the year Nedved beat Henry to it was probably the year it lost any sense of validity it had. So, yeah. But big up, Beth.
What you have to remember is it's greatly influenced by French journalism, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and obviously Barcelona and Real Madrid who are going to win. Players always win it because those two need the publicity.
Yeah, it's a complete popularity contest, and I'm just fed up of it, really.
Yeah, I don't pay much heed to it, if I'm being honest.
Until one of our players comes close, like there were this year,
then world.
Yeah, That's why.
In fairness-
That's the
in
only reason
fairness,
I
had no
tuned
problem
in
with
this year.
Benzema. I had no problem with Benzema.
There you go. But yeah, that's just about going to do it for us. Thank you all for joining me. Thanks, Madeline, for very quickly having a turnaround there and going from your game. I'm sure you've got plans this evening now.
It is initiation night. It's
How many beers does that mean?
Oh, that means there's a bottle of vodka over there, and I haven't bought any mixer yet. It means there's a lot, or half of the socials at my house. There's a lot of drinking games, and there's a lot of I've got to get up for a 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So let's see how this goes.
Well, we look forward to hearing about your adventures next week, Madeline. We'll have a segment for that. But yeah,
I'll have a cup of Horlicks with a bit of luck. You know.
Yeah. Nice cup of tea. That's what you need, Carl.
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
Carl and Dad, I will see you tomorrow for nice and early for a lovely 6 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, hopefully see you for a beer.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully we can win that and get through the Europa. Hopefully we can maintain our lead at the top of the table, even better, extend it, and then I'd get really excited. But we will see. And until then, it is thank you very much for joining me. Thank you all for listening, and we will be back next week. But until then, it's goodbye.